Hi, this is Mary O'Dwyer with Mary's Blue Door again. I ran into some technical issues with my broadcast, so I am going to continue with part 2 of the mental emotional benefits of transformational breath. If you have just come across this video, please scroll back and find the first part, which is just titled Mental Emotional Benefits of Transformational Breath. Where I had left off in the last video was talking about, your potential traumatic experience of maybe when you were 2 that you lost sight of your mom for 30 seconds in the store. And literally it was an innocent thing where maybe your mom just around the corner, or you stopped to look at something and then you realized your mom wasn't there, or your dad wasn't there, or your grandma, whoever was caring for you. And that could have been a hugely traumatic experience for you. And if something like that happened, you could suddenly adopt a belief that it's not safe in the world because whoever you came here with wasn't with you, you might have felt abandoned, whatever emotions went through you. And so that little 2-year-old child can form a belief that it's not safe to be here. Now that will show up in your breath when I look at you. That will show up as very little breath in your belly, typically. Somebody who doesn't have a lot of belly breath typically has had some experience that in their childhood that caused them to form that belief. So it could be, what we would describe as a real traumatic experience, like, could have been as big as a car accident, or it could be as relatively minor as that 30 seconds where you lost sight of your mom in the store. But the emotional impact was the same. So we store that in our body. And then anytime that we feel abandoned, our emotional body goes back to that experience of that 2-year-old being lost in the store and that terrifying lack of safety. Okay. Other things that we store in our body, other beliefs. One is a very common one, and I like to talk about this because this is one of my signatures, is a lack of safety in forgiving ourselves. So we store that on our left side of our body. Hi, Alifa, good to see you. We store our lack of forgiveness for ourselves on our left-hand side of our body. And that often is a limiting belief that people have. And this could, again, be, something that happened when you were a kid. Maybe something happened and you didn't feel that you were forgiven for it. Maybe, your mom or your dad says, I'm really disappointed in you. And you take on that belief that they're not just disappointed in the moment, that they're disappointed with you forever. Because again, as a young child, you have no discernment. And so that belief then is, I've done something bad. I've disappointed them forever. I'm a bad person, and it's not safe to forgive myself. Because if I forgive myself, well, maybe I'll do it again, and then I'm going to let myself off the hook and disappoint them again, and I don't want that to happen. So for whatever reason, we adopt those beliefs. Other times we don't feel safe forgiving other people. Let's say, again, let's take a childhood example. Something happens with a classmate, and they do something bad, and that hurts you. And your friends then, side with you, and there's all sorts, especially with girls, there's all sorts of drama, and there's cliques can form, and, ostracize one girl that maybe did this quote unquote bad thing or shun them. And maybe there's a part of you that wants to forgive them, but you don't want to lose face with your friends that have created all this drama and want to shun this other person. So then it might not feel safe to forgive them. Or let's say your heart gets broken by somebody. And again, it might not feel safe to forgive them because then it might be like you're condoning their behavior. Maybe they did something hurtful. Maybe they betrayed you in some way. And you don't want anybody to think that you condone that, so then you don't feel safe forgiving them. So again, these are all just beliefs that we form without discernment. They're not necessarily based in rational thinking, but these will show up in our body too. And so when we're breathing, I will see this. I will see this as tension. I will feel it as knots in the body. And so all of these things need to be healed, and they can get healed in a transformational breath session. So this is where I get to the fun science part of how this all works. So in a transformational breath session, we breathe through our mouth, in and out with no pauses. So oxygen is a really high vibration. It has really high frequency. It's, the life force. It's the thing that we cannot live without. We can live up to 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, but probably no more than 3 minutes without oxygen. So when we breathe this in, we're creating a really high vibration in our body, okay? So, and you're going to feel this. You might feel sensations in your body when you do a session with me. You might feel hot, cold, tingling, lightheaded. You might just feel waves of energy. Well, remember in the beginning when I talked about our emotions being energy? Well, so some of those emotions that we have stored in our body, typically they're not the ones we don't stuff in boxes are typically not the peaceful ones, the happy ones. They're the ones that we feel and we enjoy, right? The ones that we stuff and that we store are the grief, the depression, the anger, resentment, all of that good stuff. Well, that has a much heavier feeling, right? We talked about that it's a much lower vibration. So in our body, we have created this high vibration. And the laws of physics say that if something of a low vibration encounters something of a higher vibration, it's going to want to try and match that frequency. It's going to want to entrain to that higher frequency. So remember when we talked about emotions being energy, and that energy is neither created nor destroyed, but can be transformed? That's how it gets transformed. By creating this energy in the body, and we're creating an environment where this entrainment is now possible, some of these emotions are going to start to arise, and you're going to feel them. And because I'm going to be there with you, coaching you, I'm going to teach you how to breathe through the emotion, to have your voice to move the emotion needs be. You might cry, you might cough. We're going to use whatever arises in order to move and feel that emotion that you didn't feel whenever it arose or you encountered it for the first time when you stored it in your body. And as you allow that to be felt, it will transform. Just in the same way as when you're super upset at home and you have a big old cry, afterwards you feel lighter, right? Well, that's because you have transformed that feeling. You have allowed it to be felt. You've allowed it to be heard. You've allowed it to move through you. So in a transformational session, the same thing happens, except, we're creating the environment for it to happen. And it can actually, with the breath, we can move through it pretty quickly. Often, we can move through some of these emotions in, 30 seconds to a minute to 2 minutes. It blows my mind. And when we do that, then it's much easier for us to have those feelings of peace and joy and acceptance, because we have let this old stuff arise and transform into those things. So that's kind of how it shows up in this mental and emotional healing. The other cool thing that happens is, I talked about like fears will show up sometimes as like having very little breath in our belly. So I can look how somebody breathes. I think I talked about this last week too. And look at what their breath pattern looks like, their breathing pattern looks like. And based on that, I can tell them things about how they show up in their life, whether they have good boundaries, whether they, have a guarded heart, whether they're super overachievers, whether they're control freaks, whether they, are movers and shakers, whether they're, sorry, that's my cat, comes up to say hi every now and then. So I can look and see how you are. And then just by changing how you breathe, so let's say for that person who had a traumatic experience where they didn't feel safe and there isn't a lot of breath in their belly, by getting them to breathe in their belly and using affirmations like it's safe to be here, it's safe to breathe, I choose to live, I choose to be here, that's going to reinforce the subconscious mind that, oh no, it is safe to be here. And we can let go of the emotion, we can feel, allow that emotion to transform with the entrainment that I just talked about. But then we're using these affirmations to reinforce new beliefs into our subconscious. So we're allowing the emotion to move on and transform, and then we're allowing the mental, the subconscious belief to be supported in a new way. And this results in permanent healing and movement of that particular pain, that particular emotion, that particular belief. And so by changing how we breathe, so somebody who comes to me has no breath in their belly and they walk out and they're breathing much better in their belly, I find that they will be able to have better boundaries. If they've had any low back issues or digestive issues or reproductive issues or female issues, that those are going to start to resolve and heal just by bringing movement and life and all of that good stuff into that area of the body. It blows my mind how this all works. And of course, that's some of the physical stuff too that I didn't even really talk about last time, but it's hard sometimes to talk about these things all separately because they all overlap. This is such a holistic type of work. Let me just have a quick look here at my my notes. No, I think I've covered everything I wanted to say today. But if you have any questions on any of this, I would love if you shoot me an email at drmaryo'dwyer@gmail.com. I will put that in the comments. You can check out my website at marysbluedoor.com. You can, send me a message through Facebook. You can put a comment in the thing below. And I would love to encourage you to, give this a try. This will change your life forever. I have had so many clients walk through my door that have had physical healings, that have had emotional healings, that have, have changed their beliefs. Next week, I'm going to talk about the spiritual healing that occurs with this work. For me, when I did my first session, a lot of it was the emotional and spiritual healing. The amount of love I felt in my first session and the heart opening that I received is just ingrained in my memory. I will never, ever forget that. So in moments where maybe I don't feel safe or I don't feel loved or I feel unsure of myself, I can go back to that moment and recall the love and the safety that I felt. I can go back there anytime. So I would love you to come visit me. I do free breathing pattern analysis all the time. So just give me a holler and I'll do that for you. You're welcome to come and book a private or a semi-private session with me. I also do groups every week. I do every Tuesday morning at 9:30. I do most Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. So if you're around tonight, come on over. There's also an awesome event coming up on March 19th. It is a 6-day immersion in the breath. It's called the Personal Transformational Breath Seminar, and it's actually going to be up in La Cresta here in Murrieta. It's being led by my teacher, Jennifer Grombach, and I'm going to be up there as well as a whole bunch of other wonderful facilitators. There are just a few spots left, but if you're thinking about this, just jump on into that and you want to change your life in a big way. It's a 6-day immersion in the breath. We do 2 breath sessions a day. The acceleration of your healing that you're already doing or that you want to start is just going to be unbelievable. We do one of those sessions we do in the water. We teach you abundance exercises. We teach you forgiveness exercises. We teach you the fountain of youth exercises. So, I'm actually 80, but no, just kidding. But no, we do teach you that, these fountain of youth exercises. We teach you all sorts of tools for communications, all sorts of tools for looking at your beliefs. And if you guys are familiar with the work by Byron Katie, but we teach you guys that, we introduce you to that. You get to meet some terrific people. There are people all over the country and all over the world that do this work. You get to meet, 20 or more beautiful people that are just starting on their journey, and you get to be part of our breath family. So I'll put that information also in the comments here, and call me up if you're interested and want to learn any more about that. Be delighted to help you and get you hooked up. But unless there's any questions, it doesn't look like there are, I'm going to sign off for now and wish you all a wonderful rest of your day. I'm enjoying this lovely rainy day in California. It just stopped, but hopefully we'll get a little bit more later. I'm really loving it. All right, have a wonderful afternoon and we will talk to you soon. Bye.